Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Chaitanya Caritāmrta overview class. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So we are discussing from Chaitanya Charitāmrta, Ādī-Līlā. We are on chapter 7, which is entitled Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. And in this chapter, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is, trying to deliver all the Mayavadi sannyasis of Varanasi. So we heard how when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took sannyas, he wanted to drown everyone in this river of love of God. Chaitanya avatare bhaye premamrita vanya. So love of God, the river is flowing, but few people were running away. Mayavadi, Karmanishta, Kutarkya, Gan, Nindaka, Pashandi, Paduya, Adham. All these people, they were trying to run away. So Mahaprabhu took sannyas and he delivered all, but one were still remaining, the Mayavadis. So to deliver all these Mayavadis, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the way to Vrindavan, he stopped at Varanasi. He heard all the Mayavadis criticizing him because he is dancing and chanting like an ordinary material sentimentalist. Then when after going to Vrindavan, all the forest, he came back, and on the way back, he again stopped at Varanasi. And there, on the request of a Brahmana, he went to his place, and there the wonderful discussion is happening between the Mayavadi sannyasis headed by Prakashananda Saraswati and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his Brahman effulgence and spoke such sweet words that all the Mayavadis, they were captivated. So these Mayavadis, they asked him that why you're not discussing Vedanta philosophy with us? Okay, we accept that you are chanting and your guru has recommended, but you should associate with all of us. So why are you not associating with us? Or we are all sannyasis. You should come and take our association, be in our association. So in response to that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he describes that what is a defect in the philosophy of Shankaracharya. And he starts in great detail that Shankaracharya, he has given more emphasis on the indirect explanations of the Vedanta Sutra. That is Lakshana Vritti or Gauna Vritti. So indirect explanations based on his own mental speculation, he has given it. And that is not the right way. Prabhupada in the purport, he describes what is Vedanta Sutra. It has 4 chapters. First 2 chapters describe Sambandha Gyan. 3rd chapter describes Abhidheya. 4th chapter describes Prayojan. All these things we discussed. And he said when a person of this world is, giving some interpretation, it will have some defects, because everyone of this world has some inborn defects. Brahma, Pramada, Karna Patav, and Vipralipsa. We have imperfect senses, tendency to make mistakes. Brahma means tendency to make mistakes. Pramada means illusion. Vipralipsa, cheating propensity. Karna Patav, we have imperfect senses. So Mahaprabhu says, any person of this world has these 4 defects. But the supreme truth which is described in the scriptures, it is beyond the defects. And nobody should misinterpret or speculate what is written in the scriptures. One should understand as it is. If the direct meaning is so very evident, why are you having an indirect meaning? We need an explanation when something is not clear, right? But if something is very clear already, and still you are giving an interpretation, that is not good. Madhvacharya, he gives an example. Gangayam Ghosh Palli. That means village in the Ganga. So somebody says, how is this possible? Village in the Ganga? How can a village be in the Ganga? So when something is not clear, it requires an explanation. That means village on the bank of Ganga. But if something is very clear, still you are giving an indirect meaning, that is not correct. So therefore, whenever possible, we should go for the direct explanation, not the indirect explanation. Indirect explanation is not, recommended. So indirect explanation is called as Lakshana Vritti or Gauna Vritti. And the direct explanation is called as Mukhya Vritti. So last time we completed till verse number 112. So in 112 verse, Mahaprabhu is telling that everything about the Supreme Lord is spiritual. His body, his paraphernalia, his abode, everything is spiritual. There is nothing material about the Supreme Lord. But these Mayavadis, what they are doing? Mayavadi philosophy tells that Supreme Brahman, when it is covered with the material mode of goodness, becomes avatar. Mahaprabhu says, no, it is not the case. Supreme Lord is always spiritual. One should never ever think that Supreme Absolute Truth is covered by some modes. Lord is always perfect. Anything coming from the Lord is perfect. And Srila Prabhupada, in the purport, he quotes so many verses from various scriptures establishing that Lord is a person. Because a devotee of the Lord, he feels very bad. It pains the heart of a devotee when he is told Lord is not a person. Lord has no form. That's why even in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada is very strong against Mayavadis and all these misinterpreters. In one of the verses, Manvanabhav Madbhakto Madeyaji Mam Namaskuru Mame Vaishyasi Uktvayam Atmanam Matparayanaha. 9th chapter, last verse. This is the most important verse. The entire Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all the Upanishads. That's why it is called as Gita Upanishad. Essence of Bhagavad Gita is the middle 6th chapter. Essence of middle 6th chapter is the 9th chapter. Essence of the 9th chapter is the last verse, where Krishna is describing his heart. Become my devotee. Surrender unto me, offer obeisances unto me. In this way you will come to me without fail. But some of the Mayavadis, they even misinterpret this verse, which is so very straightforward. They say when Krishna is saying surrender unto me, you don't have to surrender to the person Krishna who is speaking. You have to surrender to the God who is within Krishna. That's how they give misinterpretations. And that this is very, very painful to devotees. Therefore, Mahaprabhu tells that Supreme Lord is full of all the spiritual potencies. His body, his name, pastimes, entourage, abode, everything is spiritual, all his associates. There is no material. But Mayavadis, they tell, they are ignorant. So we should be very, very clear about Mayavad philosophy. What is it? We don't have to practice it, but we should know what is Mayavad philosophy. And in this chapter, Prabhupada has elaborately described what is Mayavad philosophy. So if anybody has any confusions, what is Mayavad? Please read this chapter, the purports, although they are technical purports, but we need to understand them so that we are not confused by all the Mayavadi word jugglery. They are expert in word jugglery. So Mahaprabhu tells that, because of ignorance only, Mayavadi, they say, oh, Supreme Lord, when he appears in the world, it is a transformation of the mode of goodness. This is not the case. Ye anye arvindaksha vimuktamanina tvayasta bhava avishuddha buddhayaha. Prabhupada quotes in the purport that these Mayavadis, because they are away from the Supreme Lord, they have no information of the spiritual world. And that's why they are speaking like this. Avishuddha buddhaya, their buddhi, their intelligence is not pure. Avishuddha buddhaya. So now, after describing Mayavad philosophy, he's just beginning to describe what is Mayavad philosophy. So in the beginning only, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants to dissociate Lord Shiva from this Mayavad philosophy. And he tells that, Lord Shiva is faultless. Shankaracharya, he is an expansion of Lord Shiva. He is faultless. Tahak nahira dosh. Teho agyakari das. He says, Tara dosh nahi teho agyakari das. Ar e shune tar hoye sarvanash. It is not fault of Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya, who is an incarnation of Lord Shiva, it is not his fault. Because he is an Agyakari Das. Very, very important, verse 114. Who is a Shankaracharya? We should never ever blame Shankaracharya because he is he is carrying out the order of Lord Krishna. Agyakari Das. But anyone who follows his philosophy, he will be destroyed. Ar e shune tara hoye sarvanash. So that is very, very important. Nothing will happen to Shankaracharya. He is a liberator. He is Supreme Lord Shiva. He is carrying out this activity because he has got instruction. And we have heard about this earlier also. Prabhupada has quoted in the one of the purports. Who is Lord Shiva? And there's a conversation which is happening between Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati, where Lord Shiva is telling that in the Kali Yuga, I will spread this Mayavad philosophy. Kalo Brahmana Rupina. I will spread this philosophy of Mayavad in Kali Yuga in the form of a Brahmana. Mayavadam satshastram prachannam bauddham uchyate. Mayeva kalpitam devi kalau brahmana rupina. So Lord Shiva is telling to Parvati. And Lord Krishna is himself given his instructions to Lord Shiva that you go and spread this Mayavad to bewilder the atheists. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, these Mayavadis, they are Mayaya Apaharita Jnana. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, there are 4 types of Dushkritina. Dushkritina means they are having sinful mentality. namam dushkritino mudha prapadyante naradhama mayaya apharita jnana asuram bhavam ashuta. Mudha, naradhama, mayaya apharita jnana and asuram bhavam ashuta. So who is the mayaya apharita jnana? His intelligence is stolen by material energy, completely covered by material energy. That is called as avaranatmika shakti. Now we have heard earlier also. Avaranatmika shakti of the Lord, of Lord's Maya, covers the intelligence completely. And this Maya, this is Devi Maya, it's Lord's Maya, it is not an ordinary Maya. And this Maya has covered the intelligence of all these Mayavadis. Therefore, Prabhupada writes, they are Mayaya Aparita Jnana and they are Asuram Bhavam Ashrita also. They are two, having these two Mayavadis are both of them. Their intelligence is stolen by the illusion, and Asuram Bhava means they don't accept the existence of the Lord. They say Lord has no form. That is Mayavad. That is Asuram Bhavam. Only demoniac people, they tell Lord has no form. Avajananti mama mudha manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Avajananti mama mudha. When I descend in the human form, foolish and ignorant people, they deride me. Prabhupada writes, Buddhist philosophy is they don't believe in God and they don't believe in soul. But Shankara philosophy, they don't deny God, but they don't accept that God has a form. They tell God is Nirakar, Brahman, formless. Both Buddhists and Shankarites, they are called as Avishuddha Buddhaya. Their intelligence is contaminated. Should never ever hear from them. Mayavada bhashya shunile hoye sarvanash. That's why Mahaprabhu has again and again told, you should be very careful not to hear from Mayavadis, because this is a very, very deadly and infectious disease. And we have seen in this COVID times, what is the infectious disease? If you're not careful, for even a moment, people have died just because they went out for a few minutes. That's how the COVID was so powerful, so infectious. If we are not properly immunized, if you are not protected by the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, it is very easy to get infected by this Mayavad. Very, very deadly infectious disease. So Prabhupada writes that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he liberated Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya also. And he told, Jivera Nistar Lagi Sutra Koila Vyas Mayavadi Bhashya Shunile Hoye Sarvanash. Straightforward Mahaprabhu is telling to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Vyasdev, he has written this Vedanta Sutra for welfare of people in general, to deliver them. But this Shankaracharya, he has misinterpreted all this Vedanta Sutra. Anybody who hears this, he'll be destroyed. Prabhupada writes, these Mayavadis, they have unrealizable ambition to become God. That is their ultimate goal, to become God. And for that, they are ready to give up anything of this world. So it is so very hard to digest that all these Mayavadis, they live such a renounced life. They are sannyasis, practically living a very austere life. And scriptures say that they will go to hell. This is very, very difficult to digest. Of course, for our understanding, we should know that anybody who rejects the form of the Lord, who offends the Lord, their destination is, lower species of life or hellish species. Nata param paramayad bhavata swarupam ananda matrama vikarama viddhavarchaha pashyami visvasrijamekam anantamadhyam. So this verse from Bhagavatam tells that anybody who rejects the form of the Lord, they narak bhag bhir, they are destined to go to hell. So therefore, you should be very, very clear that all these Mayavadis, they, although they live very austere life, but what they are aspiring for is very great. They want to become God. And a simple example of Hiranyakashipu, he did such intense tapasya. 60,000 years not eating, not drinking anything, standing on one toe with his arms raised, looking up. Somebody may say, wow, he's such a austere person, such great tapasya he's doing. Why? The intention is ultimately he wants to become the controller. So some austerity, some discomfort for a future, higher prospect. So all these Mayavadis, they will live a very austere life, but what they want to become God. They want to compete with God. It is not possible to become God. Prabhupada would tell many times that you cannot become God. Krishna was God when he was day one day old. On day one, he was God. He didn't do any tapasya or meditation to become God. Therefore, Prabhupada writes all these Mayavadis, they give such misinterpretation. One who follows their philosophy, he'll be doomed. He will lose all his desire to practice spiritual life. Because anyways, this is the innate desire of every living entity to become God. That's why we have come here. To become the controllers, enjoyers, proprietors. Then Mahaprabhu continues. He says, anybody who considers the transcendental body of the Lord to be matter, made up of material nature, it is the greatest offense. It's the greatest offense. There is no greater blasphemy against the Supreme Lord than this. So one should never ever think that, oh, Krishna, Supreme Lord, he has a material form. No, it is the greatest blasphemy one can do. Prabhupada writes that they are Maya Aparita Jnana because it is written in the scriptures. Arche Vishnu Gurushushmati, Arche Vishnu Shiladhi, Gurushu Narmati, Vaishnave Jati Buddhi Sa Naraki Saha. Anybody who thinks that Archa, the Supreme Lord, it is the deity of the Supreme Lord, it is ordinary stone. Arche Vishnu Shiladhi. It is ordinary stone. Gurushu Narmati, anybody who thinks Supreme Lord, spiritual master to be an ordinary person. Gurushu Narmati. And Vaishnave Jati Buddhi, anybody who thinks Vaishnavas belonging to a particular class or sect or particular nation, that is a hellish mentality. He'll go to hellish situations of life. No? So therefore, it is the greatest offense. Prakrita Koriya Mane Vishnu Kalevar, Vishnu Ninda Aranahi Ihara Upar. There is no greater blasphemy than this. If anybody thinks, oh, Prakrita Kariya, it is a material, no. Lord's form is not material. Whenever Lord appears in this world, he is not material, transcendental. And because Mayavadis, they consider this, that their Supreme Lord covered with mode of goodness is Avatar, Supreme Brahman. They are Maya Parita Jnana. Prabhupada quotes so many verses from various scriptures, establishing that Lord Vishnu is a supreme. There is nobody greater than Lord Vishnu. Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchad asti dhananjaya. Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, there is nothing greater than me. This entire material nature is working under me. Daivi hiesha gunamai mama maya duratyaya. This is my material energy. Krishna is very clearly describing in the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada quotes from Padma Purana. This verse, Arche Vishnu Shiladhi. This is from Padma Purana. So therefore, Prabhupada is writing very elaborate purports in this chapter to explain all the technical details of what is Mayavad, how we should see Mayavad philosophy, what is the opinion of the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. Mahaprabhu tells, Lord is like a blazing fire, and all the living entities, they are like sparks, small sparks of that fire. Spark, Jiva, there is a very unique word which is used for the Jiva, that is called sphuling. Not thrilling, not pulling, sphuling. So part and parcel, iska Sanskrit word is sphuling. Ishwarera tattva yena jvalita jvalan jivera sphuran swarupayeche sphulingera kan. Sphulinge, right? It is a small part and parcel. And then Mahaprabhu describes that living entity, all the jivas, they are energies of the Lord. They are not energetic. Energetic is only one, Krishna, and living entities, they are energies. And all the scriptures they describe now, very important. What Mahaprabhu is quoting here, he says, this is very clearly described in Bhagavad Gita, Puranas, especially he quotes Vishnu Puran and all the other literatures. So Prabhupada writes, there are three systems, three divisions of knowledge in the Vedic culture. Shruti Prasthan, Smriti Prasthan, and Nyaya Prasthan. So for us, it may all look all technical, with kya farak padta hai, kya Shruti, kya Smriti. But Prabhupada is a very, very scholarly person. He has to present Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Caitanya, Caritāmrta. It is not an easy. Prabhupada was a wonderful scholar. And the way Prabhupada has presented all these scriptures, it is not like the previous acharyas. Prabhupada's presentations of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Caitanya Caritāmrita is a social commentary also, because he gives lots of current issues, what is happening in the world. He quotes them and he gives us proper view of that incidents which is happening in the world. Prabhupada quotes about Second World War. He quotes about communism. He quotes about male female inequality. All these things Prabhupada is quoting in the purports. Previous acharyas, they don't go into all this social commentary. So Prabhupada is presenting all his purports in such a way so that people can relate to them. And that's why Prabhupada has given, nobody should tell that you ISKCON people, you have no philosophical understanding. You are just reading Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. But we should understand why Prabhupada didn't comment on all the other scriptures, all the other Puranas, Upanishads, and why he commented on Ishopanishad. Somebody may think Ishopanishad is very, very technical. Those who have read and did Bhakti Shastra, they understand. Oh, very technical. But Prabhupada has given everything so that we can be equipped even in the intellectual world. Because in terms of philosophy, we should know what is there in the philosophy of Vedic culture. So there are three things: Smriti Prasthan, Shruti Prasthan, and Nyaya Prasthan. Shruti means that which is heard, the words of God directly heard, that is called Shruti. Smriti means that which is heard, assimilated, and spoken with one's own realizations. That is called as smriti. And a nyaya means to establish the philosophy of scriptures based on logic. Prabhupada has given us all three. What is a Shruti Shastra? Ishopanishad is a Shruti. The Upanishads, they are Shruti, directly the words of God. It is a Shruti. That's why Prabhupada gave Shruti also. He gave us Smriti. What is Smriti? That is Bhagavad Gita. Because Bhagavad Gita comes in Mahabharata. Although Bhagavad Gita is a unique book, it is spoken by God, that in that sense it is Shruti also. But because it comes in Mahabharata, it is Smriti also. And then Srila Prabhupada has given us Srimad Bhagavatam. What is Srimad Bhagavatam? It is the commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So Nyaya, all the different types of Nyaya and logic is presented in Vedanta Sutra. And Vyasadeva, he has given his natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra, which is called as Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam. Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam Bharatartha Vinirnayah Gayatri Bhashya Ruposo Vedanta Paribrimhita. It is a Vedanta, it is a conclusion of the Vedanta. It is the essence of Gayatri Mantra also. It is the essence of all the Arthoyam Brahma Sutras, all the sutras. But unfortunately, the Mayavadis, they do not accept Smriti Shastras because they are so straightforward. And we have discussed this earlier also many times. Mayavadis, they don't accept Smriti Shastras because they are so straightforward, you cannot misinterpret them. Therefore, they only accept Shruti Shastra, not Smriti Shastra. Prabhupada writes, so this is a half-hen logic. Ardha Kukkuti Nyaya. Half-hen logic. What is half-hen logic? Somebody accepts the behind back part of the hen because it gives eggs. And it does not like the front part because you have to feed the front part. But if somebody thinks, okay, I have to feed this front part, I'll cut the hen in two so that I'll only get the back part and I don't have to feed. It doesn't work like that. So all these Mayavadis, what they are doing, they are accepting one part of the Vedic scriptures and they are rejecting the other part of the Vedic scriptures. That is called as Ardha Kukkuti Nyaya. They are accepting Shruti, but they are not accepting Smriti. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this verse, he is quoting, he is giving evidence from Gita, Vishnu Puran and all the other. Jiva Tattva Shakti Krishna Tattva Shaktiman Gita Vishnu Purana Dita Hate Praman. Gita, Vishnu Puran, they are all the evidences of this. And then Mahaprabhu quotes a verse from Bhagavad Gita. Apareyamitastvanyam prakritim viddhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. Krishna is telling to Arjuna, oh Arjuna, oh Mahabaho, apareyam, there is an inferior energy. Apart from the inferior energy, there is a superior energy which is called as living entity, all the jivas. Yayedam dharyate jagat. And these living entities, they are maintaining this material universe. So this looks a little, funny. How living entities are maintaining this universe? Prabhupada writes, they are exploiting this universe. Technically, if you see the words, Yayedam Dharyate, all the living entities, they are maintaining the universe. What does it mean actually? It is actually a sarcastic way of telling. For example, if somebody says, this jail is maintained by prisoners, because that means if the prisoners are not there, jail will not be there. So prisoners are maintaining this jail. It is a sarcastic way of telling, because of these prisoners, this jail has to be there. Similarly, all the living entities, they are maintaining this material universe because they are having the desire. That's why Lord has created this material universe. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, there are two types of energies, the superior energy and the inferior energy. Superior energy is the living entity, material, and inferior energy is the material energy. But the problem is, the superior energy, the living entity, we sometimes forget our connection and relationship with the Lord. And that's why we come under the control of the inferior energy. Prabhupada writes, when one is actually liberated, then he no longer identifies with the material world. He understands, what is my relationship with the Lord. What is liberation? Mukti hitvanyatha rupam swarupena vyavasthiti. What is mukti? To be reestablished in our original constitutional position by rendering devotional service. Anybody who renders unalloyed devotional service, he understands that he is not this body, he is soul. Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So Mahaprabhu is explaining all these technical details to establish that Supreme Lord is spiritual and the living entities, they are spiritual, but they are very insignificant. Supreme Lord is not that insignificant jiva. Supreme Lord never comes under the covering of material modes of nature like jivas. All of us, we get affected by material nature. We get affected by the modes of nature. Supreme Lord is not like that. That's what Mayavadi says. So we have to understand why Mahaprabhu is giving all these explanations. Because he wants to establish the fact that Supreme Lord never gets covered by material modes. Ishvera Swarupa Hoye Krishnera Nityadas. Prabhupada quotes this. Jivera Swarupa Hoye Krishnera Nityadas. Jivera Swarup. We are always the eternal servants of Krishna. Jivera Swarup. That is our identity. But to come to this understanding, sometimes it takes many, many lifetimes. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudevam sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that all these Mayavadis, they may be they look very advanced, When you see a Mayavadi sannyasi, they may look very detached, no sense gratification, always equipoised, shant, calm, composed, serene look on his face. That's how people, they think the saintly people should be. Prabhupada was not that type of saintly person. Prabhupada was very, very practical. One time, Srila Prabhupada, he was doing a Pandal program in India, and all his disciples, some of the lady disciples, they were also there, and they started doing kirtan on the stage. So some of the unscrupulous people, some of the gundas and all these people, they were there in that Pandal. They wanted to take advantage of that. So they came near the stage and they started touching with all these ladies who were dancing. Prabhupada saw it and he was playing his kartal. He threw his kartal and hit one of these persons. And he got really shocked and they all ran away. And Prabhupada, he continued playing kartal. That was Prabhupada. He was not like a typical sadhu of Vedic times who has a serene face. No, we see in the movies, right? Sadhu means ekdam shant, koi haav bhav nahi hai. Prabhupada was not that type of sadhu. He was a very, very practical, ready to do anything in service of Krishna. Kam Krishna karmarpane krodha bhakta dveshi jane. If it is needed, he would become extremely angry. And Prabhupada disciples, they would tell, when Prabhupada would get angry, his lips would tremble. You know, any of you, some of you must have experienced this. When we are so angry, you know, we start trembling. Our hands are trembling, lips are trembling, body is trembling. You know, Prabhupada showed all these emotions. So we should not go on the external. So serene face, matlab bahut bade sadhu hain. They may look advanced. Prabhupada writes, however, they are not yet perfect because they are not accepting Krishna as person. You know, that's how. There is another instance. Prabhupada was there in one of the temples in the West, and they were doing deity installation. They had made an altar, but they didn't take proper measurements. So all deities were bigger than the altar. So then Prabhupada was really angry. Which rascal has done this? And all the newspaper reporters are there, whole camera team is there, and everybody is there. Room is full of guests, and Prabhupada is shouting in front of everyone. And one of the hippies, he came and said, Swamiji, why are you angry? Chant Hare Krishna and be peaceful. He gave him bead bag. And Prabhupada, he took the bead bag and he chanted one round. That was Prabhupada. Very angry he could become if it is needed for service of Krishna, at the same time very humble. Nothing for me. Many of the Prabhupada disciples, they would tell that in one moment Prabhupada would be so angry if service is not done properly. And in the next moment he would be like a most gentle person as if nothing happened. That is a devotee. Mahaprabhu quotes another verse to establish the supremacy of Lord Vishnu. Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta Kshetra Gyakya Tatha Para Avidya Karma Sangyanya Tritiya Shaktirishyate. Vishnu Shakti has three types of potencies. Lord Vishnu has three types of potencies. Para, that is spiritual potency. Kshetra Gyakya, the living entities, and Avidya, that is material potency. These are three energies of Krishna. So spiritual potency, it is full of knowledge. The living entities, they are subject to bewilderment. And the material nature, the third energy, which is full of ignorance, it is seen in various fruitive activities. So supreme spiritual energy, it is always full of knowledge, never gets confused or bewildered. Material energy, ignorant, dead matter. Living entity, sometimes here, sometimes there. That's why they are called as tatastha. Tata. You know what is the unique quality of tata? Sometimes in water, sometimes out of water. Tata means shore of a river or an ocean. Sometimes in water, sometimes out of water. That's how we are. Supreme Lord is not like that. So, we have to understand why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is quoting all these things, because he wants to establish that Lord never comes under the, contamination of material modes. It never gets contaminated. So, Prabhupada writes, people have the philosophy that there is no next life, and therefore they want to enjoy to the maximum. That is happening because of this avidya potency. Their knowledge is completely covered. Prabhupada says, this is how material energy works. And we understand that this material potency, because it belongs to Krishna, We have to use this material potency in service of Krishna. Prabhupada gives the example of dictaphone. He says, you see this dictaphone? It is a material thing. And many people in the history, they have used this dictaphone for various material things. We are using it in service of Krishna. That's how the material things have to be used in service of Krishna. So therefore, this material energy, it is the energy of Krishna. It has to be used in the service of Krishna. But living entities, they come under the control of material illusion. That's why they forget this fact. Prabhupada writes, now most of the people think that I am this body. When Prabhupada went to America and he was speaking to the public, so he was thinking, when he was speaking that, oh, you're not this body, you are soul. So the audience, they were thinking maybe he is not his body. I am my body only. I am not soul. I am my body. That is how thick ignorance it is. Prabhupada quotes Charvak Muni. He says, people of this world, materialistic people, they have this understanding, enjoy life to the fullest. Yavat jivet sukham jivet rinam kritva ghritam pipet bhasmi bhutasya dehasya kutah punaragaman bhavet. Beg, borrow or steal, but eat food made in ghee. Who has seen the next life? You know, people are saying there is next life. Kisne dekha hai? That's the philosophy of people. Therefore, Lord appears in this world to dissipate the ignorance. And when Lord appears, he appears in his same spiritual form. Prabhu says, but the Mayavad philosophy is so degraded. Just, see the power of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in front of 60,000 sannyasis. Thousands of sannyasis are there. He is straightforwardly telling that Mayavadi philosophy is so degraded that it has taken an insignificant living entity to be Lord. So that's what Mayavad is. You are God. I am God. You are God. Everybody is God. How is this possible? This is so foolish. Because living entities, they come under the control of material nature. How can you call a living entity as God? One person came to one of the devotees in ISKCON and he was arguing that I am God. And then as he was speaking, he got nature's call. He said, but just give me a minute, I'll come. So this devotee said, no, you can't go. You have to continue this debate. He said, no, this is urgent. So this devotee understood. He said, no, first you accept that you are not God. So then somehow he had to say, okay, I am not God. So then he said, okay, now you can go. So he went and he was told, okay, you can use this washroom. And then he came back. Again, he said, oh, I am God. That's how Mayavadis are. They are so stubborn. They will never accept this. They'll use all types of word jugglery. What they are doing? They are covering the glory of the Supreme Lord. Because they are bringing God to a level of living entity. They are telling living entity is also God. Oh, how is this possible? It is not good. That's what Mahaprabhu is telling. The Mayavad philosophy is so degraded that it is bringing Supreme Lord to a level of Jiva. And then he tells some other technical terms. What is Mayavad and what is Vyasdev's philosophy? Vyasera sutrete kohe parinamavad. Vyas bhrant boli tar uthaila vivad. Shankaracharya, what he did? He said, Vyasadev, he has described everything, and he has said that all the expansions and manifestations of this world, They are the transformations of the energies of the Lord. So there are two terms we are discussing here. This is a little technical understanding. There is something called as Parinamavad and there is something called as Vivartavad. So now Mahaprabhu is taking these two concepts and describing what is Parinama, what is Vivarta. So Parinamavad is given by Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva, he said, Lord, Supreme Lord, he never gets transformed into material things. His energies get transformed. All you see in this world, these are all transformations of the energies of the Lord. We all know. This is our understanding. The energy of the Lord is getting transformed into all this material universe and all that. That is the philosophy of Vyasadeva. That is our philosophy. That is technically called as Parinamavad. But Shankaracharya, he said, oh, this is not correct. Vyasa Bhranta Boli. Shankaracharya said Vyasadeva is wrong. And therefore, he raised great opposition to the theism. Uthaila Vivad. He created lots of controversy. Shankaracharya, he created lots of controversy by telling that Vyasadeva is wrong. Vyasadeva is misled. Who is Vyasadeva? Vyasadeva is the incarnation of the Lord. And he's telling, oh, Vyasadeva is wrong. So what did Shankaracharya say? Shankaracharya said, actually, the Supreme Lord, if somebody says Supreme Lord is transformed, how is this possible? Supreme Lord never gets transformed. He also said the same thing in a different way. He said, you know, if Supreme Lord is not transformed, then what is this world and who are the living entities? That is all illusion. Because they are all one, you know. So whatever you are seeing in this world, it is all illusion. Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. So that is called as Shankaracharya's Vivartavad. Shankaracharya said, Supreme Lord, he gets transformed. You know, if somebody says this, it is only an illusion. Because of illusion only we are thinking that Supreme Lord is transformed, because we are not, you know, we are God. It is just that we are in illusion. It is all mithya. Prabhupada writes, he quotes Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Supreme Lord has unlimited energies and they get transformed into various things of the world and manifest this entire universe. But Shankaracharya, you know, he says no. Lord has no energies. And therefore, he wants to prove that everything is one. So how can Lord has energies? Lord has no energies, because if energy means energetic, that means a person. So how can, you know, Shankaracharya accept that Lord is a person? No. So he says there are no energies of the Lord. Vyasadeva has understood in a wrong way. And this philosophy of monism or oneness is called as Vivartavad. So his conception of God is impersonal, so he does not believe that Lord gets transformed. Lord, he says that entire universe, it is not a transformation of energy, it is all Brahm. This universe doesn't exist. You didn't exist. You don't exist. It is all illusion. Brahma Satya. Only Brahma is Satya. Apart from that, everything else is Mithya. That is their philosophy. They say this entire world is illusion. There is nothing like this world. We are just illusioned, and that we are thinking that this world is real. This is not real. That's their philosophy. What is our philosophy? Our philosophy is this world is real, but it is temporary. This world is real because anything coming from the Lord, how can it be false? It is real. Anything coming from the Lord is real, but it is temporary. So that is what Vyasdev said, right? Parinam means transformation. The Supreme Lord's energies are transformed into this universe, in these living entities. But Shankaracharya said, no, Lord never gets transformed. He always remains the absolute truth. Because we, all of us, are also absolute. All of us, we are not, different from Lord. That is Mayavad philosophy. And to give this example, Vyasdev, he said, oh, what is milk and curd? Curd is a transformation of milk. Both are same, right? Ingredients of yogurt and milk are same. Similarly, we are having the same potencies as the Lord, and material energy has the same ingredients as the Lord. They're same. But there's a transformation. So that is how, Mahaprabhu is refuting all this Mayavad philosophy. Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he quotes so many verses establishing that this entire universe is created by the Supreme Lord. He wants to establish Vyasadev's philosophy of Parinamvad. Entire world is what? This is a manifestation of the Supreme Lord's potencies. Yatova imani jayante. All these various verses Prabhupada is quoting. And he writes that Shankaracharya, he tried to prove that it is an illusion to accept this world and jivas as the byproduct of Supreme Lord. That is Shankaracharya's philosophy. There is illusion. It's all illusion. There is no material world. There are no jivas. It is all illusion. Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. Prabhupada writes it is not possible because even in the ordinary dealings, we see that, oh, this is not false. We are dealing with true, real people. It is not false. That is our philosophy. That is Vaishnava philosophy. And Prabhupada quotes more verses from various Upanishads, Aitiriya Upanishad, where it is described that Supreme Lord is a person. He existed before creation and he exists after the creation also. He is a person. So that's how so many things are described about the Mayavad philosophy. All this is very technical thing and it may look a little difficult to understand, but at least we should be aware of the concepts so that when people, they, in the public, when you are preaching and somebody comes and throws some of these bouncers, what do you think of Parinam, Parinamavad, Vivartavad? You should know, Arey, suna hai, kahin pe to suna hai. Although we may not be able to understand or defend our philosophy, at least we should know, ye suna hai, I will go and learn more. That's the purpose of all these discussions, so that we can at least understand where is what. So we'll stop here. We'll continue next time. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Caitanya Caritāmrta ki jai. Shri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Anybody has any questions? Okay, so we'll stop here. There are no questions. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.